potential discovery of gold or silver nuggets, or an escape route if a hunt went bad at its end. So what Gwal said instead was, "Wait for me," and Kellen, possessor of the candle, smiled. Time to explore, and never mind the Wolverine that was in no way meant to be a turtle. Because her father was her business, and on the day she found him, she'd tell him so. Chapter 1. Kellen ducked her head against the wind, spitting out long strands of black hair. It was a familiar scourge, this wind, whipping through the Kettering foothills unchecked by anything other than thin stands of trees, fighting to sink roots into the rocky soil. This day, it served to dry her tear-wet cheeks, leaving them tight over her bones and tingling with cold. She stumbled, closing her arms more securely around her load of precious wood. She thought she'd been ready for this day. She'd certainly seen it coming. But the calm practicality that led her to gather the first of the pyrewood a full 3 years before Letha's death had now utterly vanished. 3 years and more it had been, that summer when the changes started. She shook her head at the thought of it, a minute gesture lost in the hair lashing around her face. In that time, her summer hunting pack had adapted to their fitful advance into maturity, holding together even as they grew to be different. They'd lost Mungo the previous year, but had otherwise remained successful and safe, and had even taken a handful of younger siblings on their easier forays. And Kellen had unrelentingly worked at her own perpetual clumsiness, overcoming it by hours of practice and strength of concentration, until even Mungo, right before he died, ceased to tease her about those moments she tripped over ruts no one else could even see. But those changes meant nothing next to this. Her entire life had revolved around this thin-soiled and meager mother and daughter subsistence farm, set on the rocky, deeply rolling hills below the rugged peaks of Kettering. Her days were patterned by necessity, with mountain summers for hunting and gathering, and winters for making the round, rock-walled home more comfortable, and lately a time during which Kellen tended her mother. And now what was this farm without her mother to center it? Was it even a farm anymore? Was it still her home? Letha had come here a lifetime ago to birth and raise her daughter Aland, she'd said, more suited to raising the daughter of the already legendary Wolverine, and for keeping her too busy with life and survival to find the trouble for which any child of the Wolverine would no doubt have a knack. Letha had never expressed any expectation that Thane would stay with her. She never seemed to mind that the burden of raising that daughter had fallen on her shoulders alone. Now the early spring wind, cold and biting, lifted the edge of the fur-lined cloak Kellen wore. She cursed her laziness for not having slipped her arms through the looping inner straps that would have kept it snug despite the wood she carried, and jogged to the emerging shape of the pyre, behind the house, where the prevailing wind would carry the flames away from the thatched roof. Kellen dumped the wood beneath the pyre frame, ignoring the 2 long-dried limbs that bounced off her foot, and hastily gathered the cloak close, warming her fingers in the luxurious fur of the snow panther she'd slain in the highest peaks of the mountains. A true luxury, indeed, if she'd tried to buy it in even the rudest of marketplaces, days of travel from here. Here, it was another of the furred skins mounded around the sleeping pallets, all results of Kellen's skill with staff and knife and sling. This garment, with the supple fur of the snow panther at her shoulders and waist, supplemented by 2 rock catskins to protect her to mid-calf, was simply more striking than most of them. The next gust of wind hit, and Kellen stiffened. Wind carried noise along with cold, and now it brought her the faintest of whoops, the louder call of a horse to its companions. Kellen whirled into the wind, squinting into the tears it brought to her eyes while the cloak flapped fiercely against her grip. There, just cresting the top of the barren hill opposite the farm, riders. 3 of them hovered on the ridge itself, their horses plunging against their bits and calling out to the 4th,
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.